Unpopular opinion, but you don't need a 90-day plan. You need one decision, and that's the power to say no. And I know you've heard this before, but every time you say no to the wrong thing, you say yes to the right one. And this is not about restriction. It's actually about your freedom. What if the most powerful transformation in your business and your life came down to just one word? Not a new habit, not a new strategy, just the courage to stop saying yes to what's not for you. Welcome to the Mind of George Show. This is where you, the entrepreneur, discover that true scaling isn't about hacks or tactics. It's about aligning your mindset, your message, your marketing, and your customer journey to create sustainable and fun growth that feels authentic and aligned to who you are. And I am stoked because this one is straight from the heart after a message I heard at church. And if this is your first episode, welcome. We don't just talk business. We actually talk about what it really takes to live a life and a business of integrity, impact, and internal peace. And I unpack a simple but was a huge soul level shift for me in today's episode. Choosing to say no in November, not from hustle, not from shame, but from a place of clarity, from a place of alignment, and a place of honoring my future self. And this is the mindset that has saved my business. It has deepened my relationships, and it's brought me, most importantly, closer to God. Most of us aren't burnt out from doing too little. I've yet to hear somebody say, I'm burnt out because I'm not doing enough. We're actually burnt out from saying yes to the wrong things or overcomplicating how hard it is to say no. And if you are feeling or have ever felt stretched or scattered or stuck, this is the invitation that your nervous system has been waiting for. And I break all of this down in today's short but powerful episode, how one sermon this weekend cracked open this entire episode, why we as entrepreneurs default to yes and how it ends up keeping us stuck. I talk about my relationship to my spiritual roots of obedience and why free will matters. I talk to you about how to practice micro no's and use those to build long-term momentum, and why November is the perfect training ground for transformation. And so this one is raw, it's completely unfiltered, it's deeply personal and straight from my heart, but I truly believe it'll speak to your soul if you dive into it. And if you need some reasons, here's some stats. 87% of entrepreneurs say they struggle with overcommitment, and 90% of burnout cases trace back to misaligned yeses. And so when you say no to one task, it increases follow-up up to 3 times on other ones. And so this is your invitation. And without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Have you ever actually sat down and recognized the power of no? Now, I know you've heard quotes about this before, right? Every time you say no, you're saying yes to something better. Well, the reason I'm sharing this is because it's November. And November is the perfect time to start practicing no. It's built into the name. And the reason I'm sharing this is because it's straight from my heart. I don't have notes. I don't have an outline. This is just my heart talking to your heart on something that I heard at church on Sunday. And so if you're listening to this on Monday, happy Monday. If not, happy whatever day of the week that you were listening to this on. But we see this around November all the time, right? We see no shave November. We see all these things nearing the end of the year, people trying to kickstart their new year off right, see the end of this year out strong. And I go to a church called Fresh Life Church in Kalispell. Levi Lusko is the pastor, as well as his wife, Jenny Lusko. And Jenny was giving this incredible sermon where we were talking about prayer. And in this one 1 minute section of this hour-long sermon, she happened to talk about this. She happened to talk about no being November and an awesome time to practice no. And the moment it hit my heart, I wrote a note and I was like, I have to do a podcast on this. And the reason being is because it's something that's so prevalent to all of us as entrepreneurs, whether we're a full-time entrepreneur, we're a part-time entrepreneur, we're a parent. We live in a world where we are constantly and consistently, what's the word I want to use? Attacked, surrounded by, submitted to all these opportunities. And by happenstance or just out of habit, a lot of us end up becoming Jim Carrey in Yes Man. And so we say yes to this, we say yes to this, we say yes to this, then we get burnt out, we get overwhelmed, we get tired. And by default, when that happens, what it also leads to is this massive amount of complexity, right? So let me paint the picture for you real quick. So let's say you were in incredible shape, and over a couple of month period, you stopped going to the gym as consistently, you ate a little bit differently, and then you maybe put on a couple of pounds or got out of shape. I might be talking to myself right now. And in that, you're like, okay, I'm going to go back to the gym. I'm going to go right now. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an hour a day. I'm going to cut out all of this. And instead of just staying in the moment and navigating and know in the moment, we try to plan out a month, 6 months, 12 months of like, here's exactly what it's going to look like perfectly. It's rigid. Rigid's the only word I can think of. It's rigid. It's restrictive. And then what ends up happening is that it's too much, and we overplan, we overcommit, and then we fall inconsistent again. And the reason I'm sharing this is because the way that Jenny shared this was so profound and so powerful in the lens of our relationship with God, right? God gives us free will. He gives us the ability to choose. She said something that really struck my heart, and I broke down in tears. And she said, God is desperate for us to be desperate for him. But God is the most incredible father who says, I'm not going to force you to love me. I'm not going to make you love me. You're going to choose to love me if that's your will. And that choice comes with obedience and choosing habits and behaviors. But it's not this perfect game. It's not that we have to earn God's love. God loves us so much that he wants the best for us. And this, when I heard this, made me recognize how much of truth is in that for entrepreneurs, where we have free will as an entrepreneur. We get to choose where we spend our time. We get to choose how we spend our time. We get to choose who we work with. We get to choose what we do when nobody's looking. We get to choose, like this morning, where I wanted to sleep in, and God woke me up at 5:45, and he's like, get to the office, you got time. And I came in and I worked out, and I'm started prepping my notes for the week and the day and all the things that I get to choose to get done, because nobody is forcing me to get them done. But I think all too often we forget that we always have a choice. And we have a choice in every single bucket and every single moment of our life. We can have somebody say good morning to us, and we choose whether or not we respond. We can be in a conversation, and we choose whether we speak life or we speak death. We can be around somebody and choose whether we speak positively or negatively. We can be having a hard conversation. We can be in a disagreement, and we might have an emotion. We might have a frustration. But in that moment, we still have the choice on how we respond. We can choose to respond with love, or we can choose to respond with anger. We can choose to respond with forgiveness and understanding, or we can choose to respond with defensiveness and attacking. We sit down as entrepreneurs and we look at our day, we look at the things that are ahead of us, we look at our clients, we get messages from our clients. And in that moment, you can choose to say, oh, this is so hard, this is so overwhelming. Or you can choose to say, I'm grateful for the opportunity. We take the list of things that we write down. Here's mine if you're watching this. The list of things we write down, and we can choose to stare at the list. Or we can choose to look at one item and be like, that's where I'm going to start. And I'm going to choose to do this with gratitude. I'm going to choose to do this with excitement. And so the reason I share all of this is because we're surrounded by choice. And I don't know the math, I don't know the science, I don't know the statistics, but given how many choices I make in a day, there's probably thousands and thousands of choices that we are faced with every single day, from the food that we eat, to the clothes that we wear, to when we stand up, to when we breathe, to when we respond, to what we post, to what we get done, to how we talk to ourselves. And a lot of us are committed to, I think the term would be growth, right? Being the best version of ourselves, having the best business, having the best mindset, the best relationship. But none of that comes with a finish line, and none of that comes with perfection. That all comes with pursuit. And pursuit is active. It's something that we're going after. It's something that we're heading towards. And in order to pursue something, we have to choose it. And we always have the choice. And when Jenny was speaking about this, she said, what I'm going to practice for the month of November is choosing to say no to the things that don't give me life. Saying no to the temptations, saying no to the easy road, saying no to the sugar, right? I'm adding my own now. Saying no to sleeping in, saying no to watching another video on Netflix, saying no to avoiding that text that I've been putting off. It's a time to practice. We all know the date. We all know the date every day. Most of us stare at a calendar. We know it's no-vember 3rd when I'm recording this, or no-vember 17th, or no-vember 28th. And if we just get into the practice of every time we see the date, we say the date, we remember what month it is, we can ask ourselves what we're saying no to. And the way that Jenny framed this, which was so beautiful and it's so applicable to entrepreneurs, is saying no to all the temporary things that seem like they're the best in the moment. But if we were to fast forward 90 days or 120 days, would our future self thank us for them? Because I know for me, sometimes I forget, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm anxious, that I always have the ability to say no. I can say no to the dinner invitation. I can say no to the text message. I can say no to speaking if I'm angry. I can say no to any amount of things. I can say no to the extra bite of food. I can say no to the caffeinated cup of coffee, which is really hard because I'm in that season because I'm still on decaf and getting back on decaf. But here's a tangible example. During our event, which was incredible, the retreat, people were bringing coffee and I just kept grabbing coffee and they were caffeinated. And I had had caffeine in like 6 months. And when the retreat ended that Monday morning, I had a splitting headache and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized I'd started having caffeine again. And then I realized that I was sunk back in, but I had a choice. And so instead of being like, I'm cutting caffeine out forever, I was like, just today, I'm going to say no to caffeine and I'm going to order a decaf. And the next day, I'm going to say no to caffeine and I'm going to order a decaf. The third day, I forgot. And if I'm being brutally honest, I think I conveniently forgot. And then I had a cup of caffeinated coffee and I had a headache the next day. And I was like, oh, I didn't choose. And the next day I was a no. And the next day I was a no. And now I am back on the no train. And something I'm actually working on is saying no to coffee in general. I love the taste. I love the flavor. But it's this built-in ritual that I have all the time. And I'm like, I would be fine without it. What if I just said no? But the reason I'm sharing this is because we are surrounded by choice. We are surrounded by opportunity. We are surrounded by millions and millions and millions of choices. But I see it with myself. I see it with clients I coach. I see it with friends is what we end up doing is we end up defaulting to yes. And a lot of the times that we default to yes, we're saying yes to things that our future self wouldn't thank us for. We're saying yes to things that in a different moment, maybe when we weren't emotional or we weren't tired, we would have been like, I would have chosen something different. I believe, and I would submit that one of the most powerful undertones of this entire message is also recognizing that pursuit we have, that pursuit for greatness, for success, for whatever that goal is of yours, is done choice by choice. And our choices in the present affect the results in the future. But no matter how much we write on paper, no matter how much we put in our calendar, no matter what we do, if in the moments of our day we don't choose the thing that is for us, for our future self, for our highest good, then we're not going to have that result. And so I think the invitation for all of us, myself included, is to use November as a reminder of what we're choosing. And I love the way that the Bible talks about this. It's in Proverbs where it talks about, the power of the tongue can either give life or take life, right? That's speaking life or speaking death. We can either speak calm or we can speak chaotic. We can choose our perspective of either disempowering or empowering. We can see it as stress or we can have gratitude for it. I think one of my favorite Bible verses, it's in 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy, but it says, count it all as blessings. If I'm going to take an action anyways, if I know that thing on my list is the thing that I want to do and the thing that I get to do for my future self, even if it feels hard, even if it's scary, if I'm going to choose to do it, I might as well choose to do it with a powerful perspective, since it's only going to make it easier to get done. But the reason I wanted to record this is because I think it's a beautiful built-in mechanism to our calendar to practice the power of no. And so my invitation for you is, don't plan the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days of things that you're going to say no to or the things that you want to change. Just find 1 to 2 that you're like, when this presents itself today, in that moment, I'm going to choose no. I'm going to choose the thing that gives me life, and I'm going to avoid the thing that gives me death. I'm going to choose the thing that makes me feel better when I'm done, not the thing that makes me feel worse when I don't do it. Or makes me feel worse when I do it and realize I didn't do the first thing. And so I think it's an opportunity for all of us to reflect, which is why I wanted to make this one short and succinct. And as much as I wish I could fly through this microphone and fly to your desk and sit down next to you and tell you what that thing or what those things are for you during your day, nobody knows them as good as you. But if you're listening to this, there's probably one right now. And you're like, you know what, today, if I just choose no to that thing, it'll build momentum and I'll be grateful that I did. And so my invitation for you is to use the month of November as a reminder to say no. Say no to all the things that hold you small. Say no to all the things that keep you back. Say no to all the things that don't create the desirable results that you want in your life, so that you can say yes to all the things that bring you life and that your future self would thank you for. And so that's all that was on my heart. I wanted to share. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you listened. If I can help you in any way, just shoot me a DM on Instagram or go book a cup of virtual coffee with me. I'll have decaf, but I'd love to connect with you. It's linked on my website, mindofgeorge.com. But I'm here to support you. I don't have all the answers. I don't have it all figured out. I'm just a man trying to be like David after God's heart, and truthfully a man that my son will be proud of, and my friends and my clients will say that their life was better because I was in it. And that starts by me choosing. And the more of us that are in this together, the more we can all support each other in our choices. And so I love you to pieces. I will either see you in the next episode or you will hear me in your earballs. But either way, we're out for today.